Ruby Bridges, written by Myra Faye Turner, illustrated by Robin Hanson. The day 6-year-old Ruby Bridges walked through the doors of William Frantz Public School in New Orleans, Louisiana, she walked into the pages of history. It was November 14th, 1960. Ruby was the first African American student at this previously all-white school. At that time, Black children and white children in the South went to separate schools, a practice known as segregation. School segregation had been against the law since 1954, but the schools in New Orleans had been ignoring the law. Finally, the United States Supreme Court gave the city of New Orleans a deadline. You must integrate your schools by September 1960. In the spring of 1960, Ruby was just finishing kindergarten. School officials wanted to choose the first Black students to attend first grade at William Frantz Public School the next September. So they tested Black kindergartners like Ruby. Ruby did well and was chosen. Her mother was excited because she knew Ruby would get a better education at the white school. But Ruby's father was afraid someone might hurt her. Finally, he agreed to let Ruby go. Many parents at the all-white school were not happy with this situation. They didn't want their children to go to school with Ruby or other Black children, so they kept fighting against the ruling. Ruby didn't start first grade until November. When Ruby arrived on her first day of school, U.S. federal marshals, a type of national police, escorted her to school. Ruby spent that day and nearly the whole school year alone in an upstairs classroom with her teacher, Mrs. Barbara Henry. The marshals who were there to protect Ruby waited outside the room. They even took Ruby to the bathroom when she needed to go. Every day outside the school, angry crowds greeted Ruby. They spat, yelled, threw things, and threatened her. But Ruby walked on. In fact, she did well in school that year. A child psychologist, Dr. Robert Coles, helped Ruby deal with what was happening. He encouraged her to draw pictures and talk about her feelings. Ruby's bravery helped end the unfair practice of school segregation. She grew up, got married, and had 4 sons. Today, Ruby lives in New Orleans, where she continues to fight for equal rights for all people.